This is going to be a quick comparison of Baldur's Gate 3 on the regular PS5 versus the PS5 Pro. Just want to be upfront here, I never got into this game. Sure, it's one of the biggest and most played games in the last 10 years, it's won Game of the Year. I don't doubt for a second how good it is, I just simply couldn't get myself to play it for more than 5 to 10 hours during launch. So the footage you're going to see here is early on during Act 1. On PS5 Pro, there's still the same two graphic modes, quality and performance. Quality on regular console is 1440p native at 30 FPS. The Pro now bumps that to 4K native and still that same 30 FPS. If you look closely at these side-by-sides, you'll see that sharper, higher image quality on the Pro. Once you get over 1440p though, it's hard to see a difference with captured footage that then gets highly compressed by YouTube. The difference is a lot more obvious if you're actually playing this game in person on a large 4K TV, especially an OLED one like I'm doing here. But if you play on a smaller monitor, you're not gonna notice or really appreciate that difference. Perhaps things are even more obvious when you're not just standing still and actually moving around. Have a look at this footage and I'm gonna zoom in here. On the PS5 Pro, you're gonna see that higher resolution, especially now during that movement and the smoothness of those edges. Now let's talk about that 60 FPS performance mode where the numbers are perhaps even better. Regular PS5 runs at 1440p upscaled, but the native is likely as low as 960p. The PS5 Pro is around 1440p native and then upscales it to 4K using PSSR. These side-by-side images do show the difference. You'll notice slightly higher quality on the Pro, but once again, standing still and looking at upscaled footage doesn't do this comparison justice. The PS5 Pro advantage is a lot more obvious during gameplay when you're actually moving around. You can see some footage here and I'm gonna zoom in, and now here you'll see that huge difference in image quality and graphics as well. PS5 Pro looks almost as good as native 4K with that PSSR upscaling. And that, my friends, is the PS5 Pro advantage for Baldur's Gate 3. Let's now talk about the performance, the FPS. I remember at release, this game struggled on the PS5 and had a lot of drops even in Act 1. Well, a lot of that's been cleaned up now with all the patches we've had since launch. Quality mode on both consoles is a solid lock 30 FPS from the footage I captured. There is, however, some freezing when you're changing zones, entering new areas. You'll see those slowdowns on both consoles, even the Pro. Other than that though, I got nothing to complain about in quality mode. That 60 FPS performance mode comparison is a bit more interesting. Most of Act 1 early on seems to be a solid lock 60 FPS on both consoles, but when I entered this slightly populated goblin town, there was some screen tearing and drops on the regular PS5. PS5 Pro doesn't get much of those drops and screen tearing, so there is an improvement in performance as well on the Pro. Now I apologize for not having progressed all the way through Act 3 to compare that. That's where the game struggled a lot at launch when you're entering these areas with a lot of NPCs. But in this smaller town, that's what I was trying to demonstrate with a bunch of NPCs. So I guess the PS5 Pro should clean up any issues during Act 3 as well, or at least do better than the regular console. There's one more advantage on the PS5 Pro, and that might be one of the biggest, especially if you play multiplayer. The regular console defaults to that 30 FPS quality mode is when you're playing in split screen, but on the PS5 Pro that doesn't happen. Even split screen is gonna follow whatever settings you have in the option. So if it's quality, that split screen is gonna be 4K 30 FPS, and if you have it set to performance, it's gonna be 60 FPS, and that's something that's not available on the regular console. So PS5 kind of wins there as well. And that's really what you need to know about Baldur's Gate 3, an improvement on the PS5 Pro in every way. But is it worth the extra money? I still don't think so. But that really comes down to personal preference and how much extra money you have lying around. Let me know what you think and if you spotted a difference that I missed.